welcome. I'm truly grateful to have you here. Please, make yourself comfortable and take your time. This story was crafted with care, dedication, and deep respect for your attention. I hope it brings you joy, reflection, and perhaps even a touch of nostalgia. Once again, thank you for sharing a moment of your day with me. The year is 1347, and you find yourself waking in the biting heart of a medieval winter. You push off the straw mattress, the chill air biting at your exposed skin, and quickly pull a coarse wool tunic over your head. The great hall beckons, a vast, echoing space that smells profoundly distinct. It's not merely the burning hearth, though the acrid smoke stings your eyes and coats your tongue with a bitter film. No, it's something far deeper. A heavy cocktail of unwashed bodies, stale ale, damp wool, and the faint metallic tang of dried blood from some forgotten skirmish. You step onto the rush-strewn floor, each stride rustling through yesterday's discarded food scraps and whatever else has settled there. Weak, watery sunlight struggles through the high, narrow windows, illuminating thick dust motes dancing in the cold air. You watch the knights, already gathered around the long, scarred oak tables. They move with a heavy, almost deliberate gait, their padded tunics and thick fur-lined cloaks adding significantly to their imposing silhouettes. Your gaze settles on Lord Eric, a veritable giant of a man whose booming laugh already reverberates off the stone walls. He's gesturing wildly, his calloused hands thick and stained, his teeth a yellowed contrast against his ruddy beard. As he leans forward, a robust wave of that potent aroma washes over you. Sweat, cured leather, wood smoke, and something else. Something utterly primal, undeniably human. It's the unmistakable scent of men who live hard, fight harder, and have likely not seen a proper bath in weeks, perhaps even months. You try to draw closer, pulled by the raw, untamed energy of the place. You see the dull glint of steel at their hips, the hardened, unyielding expressions on their faces, etched with countless battles and cold nights. Their power isn't just in the sharpness of their swords or the weight of their noble titles. It's in their very being, their unchallenged command of this space, their utterly unfiltered presence. You see their eyes, sharp, calculating, constantly sweeping the room, missing nothing. They are the apex, the vigilant guardians, the formidable, unmovable force in this harsh, unforgiving world. You feel a strange, potent mix of awe and profound discomfort. The very air thick with their unquestionable authority and their singular primal scent. It clings to everything. The rough-hewn timbers, the tattered banners hanging limp from the rafters, even the hastily prepared food being brought in by scurrying, downcast servants. This isn't just an odor, it's a profound signature, an unspoken, undeniable declaration of who they are and precisely where they stand. You can almost taste the grit of it, the unyielding, visceral reality of their existence permeating your very senses. If this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe. I'm curious. Where in the world are you listening from, and what time is it there? Share in the comments. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the true cost of power? The sacrifices we make, seen and unseen, in pursuit of it. Or perhaps, how much we truly perceive through our senses, and how much we simply accept as the way things are. You feel the weight of a heavy velvet curtain against your cheek as you push past it. Stepping deeper into the great hall, your eyes are immediately drawn upwards, not to the crude timbers you remember, but to the colossal tapestry unfurling along the far wall. It depicts a hunt, A riot of deep emerald, crimson, and gold threads capturing a stag at bay, surrounded by a tangle of hounds and mounted knights. Sunlight, now a bit stronger than before, catches the shimmering silks, making the scene almost leap to life, the woven fabric seeming to ripple with the movement it portrays. You take a breath, expecting the stale air, but for a moment, the sheer visual spectacle seems to push back the familiar odors, replacing them with a momentary sense of awe, a fleeting distraction from the hall's true nature. Your gaze sweeps across the vast space, taking in the deliberate opulence that commands attention. Long banners, emblazoned with heraldic beasts you vaguely recognize. A rampant lion, a soaring falcon, hang still and heavy from the high rafters, their dyes stubbornly vibrant despite the many years and the pervasive smoke. You notice the intricate, almost devotional carvings on the immense stone fireplace, figures of mythical beasts and stoic saints peering down as if guarding ancient secrets. Even the rough-hewn oak tables, where yesterday's scraps still lingered, are now laden with polished trenchers and gleaming metal goblets, catching the available light like scattered jewels. Young squires, dressed in fresh liveries of deep blue and gold, move with a practiced grace, their steps lighter, almost deferential, compared to the heavy tread of the knights from earlier. They carry steaming flagons and platters piled high, contributing to the orchestrated ballet of the morning. You watch as a procession of noble women enters, their long gowns rustling softly like dry leaves in a gentle breeze, creating a kaleidoscope of rich brocades, embroidered velvets, and fur trims. Their headpieces, intricate nets and veils held by bands of polished pearls and semi-precious stones, seem to halo their faces, drawing your attention away from anything less refined or less radiant. One woman, draped in a gown of sapphire blue that appears almost liquid in its richness, gestures with a delicate gloved hand, her rings sparkling with every subtle movement. The visual impact is undeniable, a carefully constructed illusion of wealth, order, and refined beauty. You see the knights, even Lord Eric, straighten slightly in their seats, their rough edges momentarily softened, their usual gruffness seemingly subdued by the surrounding finery and the presence of these figures of grace. The very air feels subtly altered, hushed, in deference to this orchestrated display. Yet, despite this dazzling display of grandeur, a slight shift in the air currents, perhaps a draft from an ill-fitting window, or the movement of a passing servant, brings a whisper of that deeper, persistent scent back to you. The underlying reality of damp stone, stale animal warmth, and unwashed wool. It's like a faint, persistent hum beneath a grand orchestra, a dissonant note trying to surface. You notice the way a magnificent tapestry, though commanding, is frayed at the very bottom, just where it brushes the rushes, or how a gleaming goblet has a slight, almost imperceptible dent along its rim, easily overlooked. The visual splendor is a magnificent performance, an elaborate stage set demanding your absolute attention, directing your focus relentlessly. It wants you to forget the mud outside, the lingering cold in your bones, the less than fragrant atmosphere. It wants you to see only the power, the richness, the unyielding strength presented in gold thread, polished steel, and shimmering silk. You feel the sudden, jarring impact as the breastplate settles onto the gorget, a dead weight pressing down on your shoulders. It's cold, impossibly cold, despite the padded layers beneath it, and the sheer metal sends a shiver straight through you, right down to your bones. A grunt escapes your lips as the two squires, struggling on either side, pull straps taut taut, cinching the metal plates around your chest until you can barely draw a full breath. The heavy, oiled leather of the straps digs into your armpits, and the faint metallic tang of the cold steel fills your nostrils, sharp and almost acrid. You try to shift your weight to find some semblance of comfort, but the rigid shell encasing your torso resists, allowing only a stiff, constrained movement. Each minor adjustment sends a dull clank echoing close to your ears, a constant reminder of the metallic prison you're willingly stepping into. Then come the pauldrons, massive plates shaped like turtle shells, bolted onto the breastplate, restricting your arms, making every raise feel like a monumental effort. You watch your own hands, now almost alien in the heavy gauntlets, each finger jointed with steel, flexing with a strange, unnatural creak. The world outside the armor, the rough fabric of the squires' tunics, the splintered wood of the stand you lean against, feels distant, muted, as if observed through a pane of thick, cloudy glass. The weight builds, piece by piece. Greaves latch onto your shins, sabatons envelop your feet, then the heavy vambraces protect your forearms. You feel less like a person and more like a collection of interlocking metal pieces, a walking iron fortress. The air inside begins to warm, not pleasantly, but with the close, stale heat generated by your own body, trapped and contained. Sweat prickles on your skin, a sensation both clammy and itching, but utterly unreachable beneath the layers of wool, mail, and steel. Your breath grows shallower, each inhalation a conscious effort against the constriction. You can hear the strained puff of your own breathing, a small, trapped sound within the metal shell. Finally, the helmet. It drops over your head with a dull thud, plunging your world into a sudden, echoing darkness, punctuated only by the narrow slits for your eyes. Your vision is drastically reduced, peripheral awareness all but gone. The air becomes even denser, heavy with the smell of old leather, stale breath, and the subtle, rusty scent of the metal itself. Every sound outside is muffled, distant, while the sounds of your own body, the thrum of your pulse in your ears, the scrape of your jaw against the padding, the rustle of the layers as you try to move, are magnified, a constant internal symphony of confinement. You feel the immense, suffocating weight of it all, an undeniable pressure on every inch of your body, yet simultaneously you feel an unyielding readiness, a formidable, silent power that radiates from the steel, daring the world to challenge it. The embrace is tight, almost unbearable, but it promises a kind of invincibility, a transformation into something less fragile, less human, but infinitely more resilient. It's a paradox of discomfort and might, a heavy, breathing silence waiting for the roar of battle. The dull clangs of the helmet settling over your head is not just a sound, it's a door slamming shut. You feel the physical weight, of course, a constant pressure on your neck and shoulders, but it's the mental shift that truly registers. The world outside shrinks, muffled and distant, seen only through the narrow, unblinking slits of your visor. Sounds are indistinct echoes, voices a low rumble, the rustle of straw underfoot a faint whisper. You are encased, not just in steel, but in a profound, isolating silence. You try to turn your head, a stiff, grinding effort, and the limited view forces your gaze forward, straight ahead. There's no easy glance to the side, no casual sweep of the eyes. You must move your entire body to perceive anything beyond your tunnel vision. This physical constraint quickly morphs into a mental one. Your focus narrows, sharpens, pushing out distractions, worries, even personal doubts. The mundane concerns of yesterday, the cold floor, the unwashed air, they all recede. Instead, you feel a single, overriding purpose begin to coalesce within you, a formidable clarity that borders on detachment. Your own breathing, once a small, trapped sound, now seems to resonate inside your steel shell, a steady, rhythmic pulse that is entirely your own. It is the breath of a warrior, a machine, almost. You lift a gauntleted hand, the heavy metal clinking, and watch it move with a strange, deliberate grace. It's no longer your hand in the way it was before. It's an extension of the armor, a tool of war. You perceive yourself not as the man you woke up as, but as the knight, a symbol forged in iron and expectation. The weight on your body is immense, yet it also feels like a foundation, unyielding, anchoring you, making you feel strangely invincible. This isn't about comfort. It's about transformation. You feel the psychological barrier rise, thick and impenetrable, between you and the ordinary world. The subtle looks from squires, the hushed conversations of noblemen, they all glance off this new, hardened exterior. You are no longer just you. You are a presence, a force, recognized and feared. There is a certain grim satisfaction in this, a stoic acceptance of a role that demands everything, while offering a singular, terrifying power. You walk differently, each step a heavy thud, announcing your arrival, your resolve. The feeling is not of liberation, but of an absolute, unshakable readiness, a mind honed to a single sharp point, waiting for the command to move, to strike, to embody the cold, unyielding purpose of the steel that surrounds you. You are both contained and amplified, a human being sacrificed to become something else, something harder, something necessary. The air hits you first, heavy and humid, thick with the smell of damp stone, wood smoke, and a faint, cloying sweetness. You step into the bathhouse, your bare feet immediately recoiling from the cold, slick flagstones before you find a strip of worn matting. Steam hangs low, obscuring faces and softening the sharp edges of the rough-hewn timbers. It clings to your skin, a fine, warm mist that feels both inviting and strangely suffocating. The low rumble of voices, splashes, and sloshing water bounces off the arched ceiling, creating a continuous, echoing murmur. You peer through the haze, your eyes adjusting, and make out the central feature. A large, shallow wooden tub, almost a pool, filled with water that's far from clear. It's a murky, brownish green, reflecting the flickering torchlight in distorted, wavering patterns. Several men are already submerged, their heads bobbing like apples, their bodies indistinct beneath the surface. You can just catch the glint of their eyes, the sheen of sweat on their foreheads. A few figures stand near the edge, ladling water over themselves from smaller wooden buckets, the splashes echoing with a flat, dull sound. The air is still saturated with that sweet, almost medicinal scent, a mix of herbs thrown into the water, attempting to mask something deeper, something less pleasant. As you draw closer, the warmth intensifies, wrapping around you like a heavy, wet blanket. You dip a cautious hand into the water. It's tepid, almost lukewarm. Not the bracing heat you might have imagined, but a weary warmth that hints at having absorbed much already. You feel the subtle slickness of it against your fingers, a faint greasiness that suggests more than just bath water. You see a man across the tub, his back to you, scrubbing vigorously with a rough cloth, sending ripples across the surface that disturb what appears to be a small cluster of floating something or others. You try not to focus too closely on what they are. You step over the raised wooden edge, wincing slightly as your feet sink into the murky depths. The sensation is unexpectedly soft, almost muddy, as if the bottom is lined with fine silt. The water laps at your waist, carrying faint currents of warmth and coolness, but mostly that pervasive, indefinable smell that hangs heavy in the humid air. You feel the presence of other bodies around you, their warmth radiating through the water, their movements creating gentle shifts in the current. You notice one man yawn widely, his face tired, his eyes half closed, clearly seeking a moment of respite from the endless demands of the outside world. This isn't a place of meticulous cleanliness, but a communal space, a necessary ritual, a place where the weight of daily grime, both physical and mental, is momentarily suspended in lukewarm, shared water. You are just one more body in the communal pool, seeking a brief, imperfect comfort. The warm, wet air now feels less stifling and more like a comforting shroud as you settle further into the bathhouse. A booming laugh echoes, cutting through the steam and the gentle sloshing of water, and you realize it belongs to a merchant you recognize, Sir Godfrey. He's waist-deep in the murky water, gesturing wildly with a calloused hand, recounting some market tale to a younger, silently nodding scribe who listens with an almost reverent attention. Their bodies, stripped bare of all social trappings, are just skin and bone beneath the surface, yet the roles they play outside these walls cling to their posture, their expressions. You watch as another man, a local farmer by the look of his hands and sun-weathered face, dips a shared wooden ladle into the communal vat of scented water. He pours it over his head, a long, sighing exhalation following the rush of liquid. He doesn't seem concerned about who used the ladle before him, or what might be lingering in the water itself. His focus is on the warmth, the brief relief from the aches of manual labor. There's a quiet camaraderie in the space, a shared vulnerability that seems to smooth out the usual hierarchies. Knights, merchants, laborers. Here, for a fleeting moment, they are simply men seeking respite, their daily grime softened and diluted by the tepid shared water. You reach for a rough wool sponge floating nearby, its texture coarse against your skin as you attempt to scrub away the persistent dust and sweat. It's a pragmatic act, not a luxurious one. You see others doing the same, some with more vigor, some with a weary resignation. A group of younger squires splash playfully at one end, their exuberance a stark contrast to the older men who simply soak, their eyes half closed in contemplation or exhaustion. They exchange news, complaints about the harvest, updates on distant skirmishes, all spoken in a low murmur that rarely rises above the gentle lapping of the water. This isn't about solitude or deep cleansing. It's a living, breathing extension of the great hall, just without the armor and formal clothes. It's a place where connections are reaffirmed, where information flows as freely as the steam. The aroma of herbs, attempting to cover the deeper, human smells, is a constant, almost comforting presence. You feel the occasional bump of a passing body, a silent acknowledgement, an unspoken understanding of shared space and purpose. It's not about absolute cleanliness. It's about the ritual, the shared warmth, the momentary stripping away of the hardened exterior that medieval life demands. It's a functional hygiene, a communal act of maintenance, a brief, open social gathering where the lines between rank blur into the steaming, murky depths. This is less about purification and more about collective resilience. a practical necessity interwoven with the fabric of their lives, where being truly clean, by our standards, simply isn't the point. The first thing that hits you isn't a single smell, but a cacophony, a wall of odors that makes your nose wrinkle instinctively. You step out from the relative quiet of a narrow alley and onto the main thoroughfare of the city, and it's like walking into a living, breathing creature of sensation. The air is a dense stew of everything. The sweet, sickly rot of discarded market vegetables, the acrid bite of wood smoke from countless hearths, the pungent, unmistakable ammonia sting of human and animal waste. Beneath it all, a faint, earthy dampness rises from the cobbled street, a constant reminder of the ever-present muck. Your boots immediately sink slightly into something soft and yielding. You pull your foot back, a squelching sound following, and you try not to look too closely at the dark, viscous puddle you just disturbed. The street itself is a river of waste, a channel carved not by water, but by the relentless flow of daily life and its inevitable byproducts. Here and there, a chicken scratches nonchalantly at the edges of a pile of refuse, or a dog sniffs eagerly at something unseen. The gutters overflow, not with rainwater, but with a sluggish, brownish-gray liquid that oozes slowly, carrying scraps, straw, and nameless detritus along its languid path. You try to pick your way carefully, but every step is a gamble. One moment, your boot finds solid cobblestone. The next, it slides on something slimy and unseen. A cart rumbles past, its wooden wheels churning through the thickest parts of the street, sending sprays of mud and whatever else upwards, forcing you to instinctively shield your face. The sound of the street is just as overwhelming as its smell. The ceaseless clatter of wooden shoes on stone, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the shouts of vendors, the braying of a donkey, and the constant buzzing drone of flies, an invisible, omnipresent cloud around every heap of waste. You see a woman haggling over a string of onions, her hands gesticulating near a steaming pile of horse manure, seemingly oblivious to its potent aroma. A child plays with a stick in a puddle of dubious origin, completely absorbed. For them, this is simply the texture of daily existence. Your eyes trace the dark, greasy sheen on the cobbled stones, the way the refuse clings to the base of every timber-framed building. You feel a gritty film settling on your skin, a fine dust that seems to carry all the street's myriad smells with it. This isn't just dirt. It's a dynamic, evolving landscape of filth, a living testament to an era where the boundary between human habitat and raw waste was thin, permeable, and utterly inescapable. It's a pervasive reality that permeates everything, making you realize that the minor discomfort of a night's unwashed body is a mere whisper in this overwhelming symphony of the street. A gritty taste coats your tongue, a lingering consequence of the dust and fumes that drift through the medieval street. You're no longer just smelling the individual odors. Now you feel the weight of them, a suffocating blanket of sensory information that presses in from all sides. The initial shock has softened, replaced by a dull thrum of constant stimulation, a background hum that your mind is frantically trying to categorize and, more importantly, to ignore. Your eyes dart across the chaotic tableau. A pig rooting in the refuse near a baker's shop, its snorts barely audible over the din of hawkers yelling their wares. A cluster of children chases a wooden hoop down the narrow lane, their laughter thin and reedy amidst the deeper growl of cartwheels on uneven stone. You notice the subtle shift in the air as you pass a fishmonger's stall, a sharp, briny tang momentarily cutting through the heavier sense of animal dung and unwashed humanity. It's a momentary clarity before the general miasma reclaims your senses, pulling everything back into that complex, pervasive stew. You instinctively pull your cloak tighter, a futile gesture against the invisible assault. The constant flow of people means you're often jostled, nudged, or bumped. You learn to move with it. A kind of unconscious dance, your body adapting to anticipate the sudden lurch of a porter carrying a heavy load, or the darting movement of a small dog. The ground beneath your feet is a constantly shifting puzzle of mud, straw, discarded scraps, and hidden stones. You tread carefully, eyes scanning not for beauty, but for solid footing, for the path of least resistance through the ankle-deep muck. You feel the grit of the street working its way into your boots, a persistent, uncomfortable awareness of the ground's raw texture. What was once overwhelming now begins to blend, to merge into a single, complex sensation that your mind starts to filter, to push to the periphery. You find yourself focusing on a merchant's specific cry, or the glint of sun on a freshly polished pewter tankard, allowing the rest to fade into a tolerable background noise. It's a survival mechanism, this desensitization. You watch a local woman, her face serene, expertly navigate the worst of the street's filth, her bare feet seemingly immune to the cold and the squelch. She steps over a puddle, skirts a pile of waste, her gaze fixed on her destination, utterly unbothered by the symphony of dirt and odor that surrounds her. You realize that to truly exist here, to simply function, you must learn this trick, to accept the constant sensory assault not as a problem to be solved, but as the unremarkable, unchanging backdrop to life itself. The true challenge isn't the presence of the filth, but the ceaseless effort it takes to live within it, and the remarkable human capacity to simply stop noticing. A searing, throbbing ache pulsates deep within your leg, a relentless rhythm that has stolen your sleep and dulled the edges of the world. It's not just pain. It's a living entity, pulling at your nerves, making every slight shift of your body a monumental task. You lie on a rough cot, the straw rustling beneath you, and even that minor sound sends a fresh wave of agony radiating from the wound. The air in the small, dim room is thick, with the sweet, cloying scent of stale herbs and something else, something metallic and faintly foul, a smell you've come to associate with infection. A gentle, calloused hand presses against your forehead. It's cool and firm, a stark contrast to the burning heat emanating from your leg. You open your eyes, blinking against the gloom, and see a face hovering above you, etched with lines of concern, yet steady. It's the village wise woman, her dark eyes piercing despite the soft glow of the single tallow candle. You watch her hands, nimble and practiced, as she carefully unwraps the bandage from your wound. The cloth peels away with a soft, sticky tearing sound, each whisper of fabric against your skin a fresh torment. You grit your teeth, a low groan escaping your throat, feeling a rush of cooler air suddenly hit the raw, inflamed flesh. The wound itself is a grotesque maw, angry and swollen, a livid crimson spreading outwards from a central, purulent yellow. You try to look away, but your gaze is morbidly drawn to the exposed flesh. The wise woman leans closer, her breath smelling faintly of garlic and herbs, and you feel the soft touch of her fingers as she gently prods the edges of the wound. A sharp, involuntary gasp escapes you, your muscles tensing, but her touch remains firm, unwavering. She murmurs something low and guttural, a soothing hum more than words, as she reaches for a rough wooden bowl. From the bowl, she scoops out a dark, greenish-brown paste, thick and earthy, smelling strongly of crushed plant matter. Comfrey, perhaps, and something acrid. You feel a distinct coolness as she spreads the poultice directly onto the hot, pulsating flesh, the consistency oddly grainy against your skin. It's a heavy, clinging sensation, like cold mud. The initial chill offers a fleeting, almost teasing relief, quickly followed by a dull, persistent warmth that spreads from the application site. You watch her wrap fresh linen strips tightly around your leg, securing the poultice in place. The pressure is uncomfortable, constricting, but also strangely reassuring, as if binding the pain itself. You lie back, exhausted, the medicinal smell now dominating your senses, replacing the foul tang. This intimate, raw encounter with both pain and crude healing is a visceral reminder of your own fragility, of the body's constant fight against the unseen enemies that teem in this world. It's a direct, unvarnished confrontation with the precariousness of life, where a simple cut can become a battle for survival, and hope rests on the earthy embrace of a humble poultice. A creeping cold has begun to spread from your throbbing leg, a subtle chill that seems to emanate from within, rather than from the brisk air of the room. Despite the heavy blanket draped over you, a persistent shiver runs through your body, a deep, unsettling tremor that has nothing to do with the external temperature. Your head feels strangely light, detached from your body, and the familiar outlines of the small room seem to waver, blurring at the edges. The herbal scent of the poultice, once a scent of hope, now mingles with a faint metallic taste in your mouth, sharp and coppery. You hear the gentle scrape of a stool being drawn closer, and feel the familiar, reassuring presence of the wise woman. Her hand, cool against your feverish forehead, is a fleeting anchor in a world that feels increasingly adrift. You try to focus on her words, but they arrive distorted, softened by the growing fog in your mind, like sounds heard from underwater. Her expression, however, is clear, a mix of solemn care and a deep-seated resignation. Her eyes hold a knowledge that transcends her humble remedies, a silent acknowledgement of forces beyond her control. A dull ache blossoms behind your eyes, pressing outwards, making it difficult to keep them open. You close them, sinking deeper into the warmth of the fever, but the pain in your leg remains a constant, burning beacon. Each beat of your heart sends a new pulse of agony through the wound, a relentless reminder of its hold. You feel the weakness permeating your limbs, a profound exhaustion that saps your will, making even the smallest movement feel monumental. The sounds of the world outside, the distant bark of a dog, the creak of a closing door, feel remote, belonging to a world you are slowly, inexorably drifting away from. This isn't just about pain anymore. It's about the fight itself. You feel your body battling, silently, fiercely, against an unseen enemy that courses through your veins. There's a strange clarity in this surrender to raw sensation, a stark understanding of the fragility of your own existence. You are no longer thinking about grand halls or muddy streets. Your world has shrunk to the confines of this cot, this single burning leg, and the breath that struggles in your chest. You realize with a chilling certainty that this isn't merely an illness to be cured, but a deep, intimate confrontation with the boundary of life itself. There's no heroic charge here, no shining armor, just the stark, unvarnished reality of a body trying to hold on, in a world where a small infection can mean everything, and the only certainty is the passage of time. A wave of rich, fatty smoke, heavily seasoned with roasted meat and a pungent hint of something gamey, washes over you as you enter the great hall. It's a powerful, almost overwhelming scent that makes your stomach rumble, a deep, hollow protest against the days of meager rations. The hall is brighter now, ablaze with torchlight and the flickering glow of a massive central bonfire, casting long, dancing shadows across the stone walls. The air is warm, thick, and surprisingly festive, filled with a boisterous clamor of voices, the clatter of trenchers, and the occasional burst of raucous laughter. Your eyes immediately seize upon the feast itself, long tables groan under the weight of platters piled high, a veritable mountain range of food. You see an entire roasted boar, its skin glistening, an apple still tucked incongruously in its mouth, surrounded by smaller birds, geese, pheasants, perhaps a swan, their cooked flesh, a deep, inviting brown. There are loaves of dark, crusty bread, haphazardly torn, and wooden bowls overflowing with stewed vegetables, their colors muted by the ambient light. The display is a riot of texture and shape, a stark contrast to the rough simplicity of everyday meals. You push closer, the warmth of the roaring fire now caressing your face, making your skin tingle. You pass by a massive wooden bowl of what appears to be a thick, murky porridge, simmering gently, its surface bubbling with a faint hiss. Then your gaze lands on a platter of freshly killed fish, perhaps carp from the Lord's ponds, their scales still faintly shimmering, their unblinking eyes staring up from the bed of greens. Beside them, there are small, unidentifiable meat pies, some split open to reveal a dark, savory filling, others still steaming, promising a burst of flavor. The visual impact is astounding, a declaration of wealth and power laid bare for all to witness. You see the knights, their faces flushed with ale and good cheer, tearing at hunks of meat with their bare hands, their movements broad and unapologetic. They laugh, they gesture, bits of food occasionally flying from their mouths. One man, his beard matted with grease, offers a piece of roasted fowl to a hound patiently waiting beneath the table, its tail thumping a soft rhythm against the rush-strewn floor. The sheer quantity is almost dizzying, a stark reminder of the abundance enjoyed by the privileged few. But as you watch, a subtle detail catches your eye. The way a cooked fowl is a touch too dark in one spot, almost burnt, or the faint, almost imperceptible film of grease that seems to coat everything. It's a feast, certainly, but one built for survival and spectacle, not delicate refinement. The raw, unfiltered reality of medieval eating is laid bare before you, a challenge to your senses and a test for your stomach. You find yourself drawn into the boisterous center of the feast, the heat from the roaring fire now almost oppressive against your skin, making the air shimmer. The smell of roasted meats, rich and greasy, is so potent it feels like a physical presence, coating your tongue even before you taste anything. You watch Lord Eric, the giant knight from earlier, now truly in his element. He tears a massive drumstick from a roasted pheasant with a satisfied grunt, his teeth sinking into the flesh with a primal ferocity. Grease runs down his chin, mingling with his beard, but he seems utterly unconcerned, his eyes scanning the table for the next conquest. Around him, other knights mirror his actions, They don't eat so much as they devour, their movements swift and decisive, as if engaged in another kind of battle. You see one man, his face flushed, gesturing with a half-eaten loaf of bread, fragments scattering onto the rushes. Another drains a goblet of ale in a single, prolonged gulp, a thin stream running down his chin, before slamming the empty vessel onto the table with a resounding thud. It's not just hunger driving them. It's a performance, a deliberate display of their right to this abundance, their unassailable position at the top of the food chain. Servants move through the throng like silent ghosts, quickly replacing empty trenchers with fresh piles of meat, refilling flagons with dark ale and potent wine. You notice their quick, downcast glances, their careful avoidance of direct eye contact, their swift, practiced movements designed to stay out of the way of these voracious eaters. The sheer volume of food consumed is staggering, a testament to endless resources and hearty appetites forged by hard living and constant vigilance. You see the discarded bones forming small mountains on the tables, the remnants of a powerful, undeniable consumption. Your own stomach, once rumbling with hunger, now feels a strange mix of awe and a faint nausea from the sheer, unrestrained indulgence. The sounds are a symphony of excess, the tearing of meat, the clatter of bone against wood, the loud gulps, the belches, and the booming, uncontrolled laughter that rises and falls like a tide. This isn't about simple sustenance. It's a living tableau of power. To eat this much, with such unbridled gusto, to waste so much, is to declare your status, your triumph, over scarcity. It's a defiant roar against a world of hardship, a visceral manifestation of control. And as you watch them, truly absorbed by their performance, you understand that their lack of personal hygiene is not a problem here. It's simply part of the raw, unpolished, undeniable force of their existence. The cold, unyielding weight of the sword's hilt presses into your palm. The smooth, worn leather surprisingly rough against your skin. It's a full-sized blade, heavy and unbalanced, designed not for grace, but for crushing impact. You feel the unfamiliar pull in your wrist, the subtle tremor in your forearm, as you try to hold it steady. The air in the training yard is sharp and brisk, carrying the faint metallic scent of cold steel and damp earth, punctuated by the grunts of other trainees and the rhythmic thwack of wooden practice weapons. You watch the master-at-arms, a grizzled veteran whose movements are a fluid, terrifying dance of precision and power. He lunges, parries, and slices with a heavy wooden longsword, each motion efficient, brutal, and utterly without wasted effort. His face is a mask of grim concentration, his breath a controlled hiss. You mimic his stance, planting your feet wide, feeling the cold, damp ground beneath your thick leather boots. The sword feels impossibly heavy in your grip, pulling your shoulder down, making your muscles scream even before you move. You try a simple downward cut. The blade feels clumsy, an extension that refuses to obey your will. It arcs slowly, heavily, instead of snapping through the air with the master's practiced speed. The effort sends a jolt through your elbow, and your wrist protests with a dull ache. You can hear the slight, almost imperceptible whistle of the blade as it moves, a whisper of its true lethal purpose. Around you, other squires grunt and groan, their breathing growing ragged, their faces shining with sweat despite the chill. The air is filled with the dull thud of wood on padded armor, the scrape of boots on dirt, and the harsh, sharp commands of the master. Each swing, each parry, is a battle against the weapon itself, against your own weak muscles and unfamiliar balance. You feel the burning in your forearms, the strain in your lower back. The pommel of the sword, once cold, now feels warm, slick with sweat from your grip. Your breath comes in ragged gasps, misting in the cold air. The master watches, his eyes missing nothing, his critiques sharp and precise, cutting through the heavy air. You understand, viscerally, that this isn't about flashy moves or elegant flourishes. It's about raw strength, unyielding endurance, and the brutal repetitive mastery of a tool designed solely for violence. The weight of the sword is a constant, unforgiving teacher, forging not just skill, but a profound respect for the sheer, demanding reality of its power. You feel the ache, the burn, the struggle, all building towards a grim, lethal competence. The sharp, splintering crack of a wooden stick against another rings out, far too close, making you flinch. You turn, and through the haze of wood smoke that perpetually clings to the castle grounds, you see them. A clutch of children, barely past toddler age, no more than 6 or 7 summers old. They're not playing with dolls or chasing butterflies. They're engaged in a fierce, earnest imitation of combat, their faces screwed up in intense concentration. One small boy, his tunic muddied and torn, lunges with a roughly carved wooden sword at another, who parries clumsily with a branch. The blows connect with surprising force, a dull thud followed by a grunt, but neither child cries out. Instead, their eyes sparkle with a fierce, almost predatory gleam. You watch as one tumbles to the ground, only to scramble back up, dirt clinging to his cheek, a scowl of determination already back on his face. Their shouts are not the innocent squeals of childish glee, but sharp, truncated approximations of battle cries you've heard from seasoned warriors. This isn't just a game, it's an apprenticeship, a brutal, visceral rehearsal for a life that demands constant readiness. You notice the lack of adult intervention. A grizzled stable hand leading a horse passes by, casting a brief, indifferent glance at the grappling youngsters before continuing his work. A noblewoman, her gown rustling, merely skirts the edge of their impromptu battlefield, her expression unbothered, perhaps even approving. For them, this aggressive play is not alarming. It's simply the way things are. It's the natural grammar of their world, a language spoken from the earliest days. The quickness with which a fallen child gets back up, the immediate re-engagement, the almost automatic acceptance of bumps and scrapes, it's all part of the unspoken curriculum. You feel the chill wind whip across the yard, carrying with it the faint, metallic scent of the armory, the distant clang of a blacksmith, the very air imbued with the tools and sounds of conflict. The children's play is a reflection of this reality, a mirror of the nights in the great hall, of the constant threat beyond the castle walls. They're learning not just how to wield a weapon, but how to endure pain, how to confront an opponent, how to survive. It's a harsh lesson, taught through blunt force and raw instinct, etched into their very bones before they even reach manhood. You understand, then, that their world doesn't offer the luxury of a gentle childhood. Violence isn't an aberration. It's an essential, foundational language, learned from the moment they can hold a stick, a vital vocabulary for simply existing. The air in the scriptorium is cool and still. a welcome contrast to the castle's usual clamor. You step over the worn stone threshold, and the first thing you hear is a delicate, insistent, scratched, 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 scratch. It's the sound of a quill on parchment, a rhythmic, almost meditative whisper that fills the hushed space. The scent here is different too. Dry, faint, a mixture of old paper, beeswax, and a subtle metallic hint of iron gall ink. It smells of quiet concentration, of forgotten knowledge. You see a single, hunched figure, a tonsured monk, illuminated by the soft, diffused light from a tall, arched window. He sits at a heavy wooden desk, his back to you, his entire being seemingly absorbed in the task before him. His breath is a shallow, almost inaudible sigh, punctuated only by the relentless scratching of his pen. His fingers, thin and stained with ink, move with a precise, almost surgical grace across the page. Each stroke is deliberate, a tiny act of creation. You lean closer, your footsteps muted on the rushes, and peer over his shoulder. The page beneath his hand is a marvel. Intricate swirling capital letters, illuminated with vibrant blues and golds, frame columns of painstakingly transcribed Latin script. You can almost feel the texture of the vellum, so smooth and fine, yet resilient. As the quill dances across the surface, you notice how the ink, a deep, rich black, flows effortlessly, leaving a crisp, permanent mark. The monk's tongue peeks slightly from the corner of his mouth, a small sign of his intense focus. He pauses, dips the quill into a small, lidded pot of ink, the liquid a viscous shimmering black, then resumes his work with renewed vigor. The rhythm is hypnotic. Dip, scratch, dip, scratch. It's a precise, exacting dance between hand, mind, and ancient text. You can see the faint indentations left by his earlier strokes, a ghostly echo of the words on the other side of the page. The work is slow, painstaking, each letter a small victory against oblivion. It's a silent, almost sacred act, a world away from the clang of swords or the roar of the feast. Here, power isn't measured in steel or land, but in the careful preservation of words, the slow, deliberate spread of knowledge, one meticulous scratch at a time. You feel a profound sense of reverence, watching this man, this quiet sentinel, connecting the past to the future with nothing but a feather and a pot of ink. It's a reminder that not all strength manifests as brute force. Sometimes it whispers on the page. You reach out, a slight tremor in your hand, and carefully touch the vellum page the scribe has just been working on. The surface feels surprisingly cool and smooth, almost alive, a testament to the animal skin it once was. You can feel the faint, raised texture of the ink, still slightly wet in places, and the subtle impression where the quill has pressed against the material. The book itself, heavy and bound in thick, rough leather, sits open on the stand, its spine creaking softly as you turn another page. The scent of the scriptorium, that dry, papery, slightly metallic aroma, now feels more profound, almost sacred. You realize it's the smell of accumulated wisdom, of countless hours of diligent, silent labor. You run your finger along a line of text, the intricate curves and flourishes of the letters feeling alien, yet deeply significant. Each word, each sentence, is a testament to immense effort. This isn't just information. It's a meticulously crafted artifact, born from the slaughter of animals, the grinding of pigments, the sharpening of quills, and the unwavering dedication of a human hand. You notice the precise measurements of the margins, the careful alignment of the columns, the small, almost invisible corrections where the scribe scraped away an error with a knife, leaving a faint scar on the vellum. This wasn't a quick print, a fleeting digital image. This was a physical act of creation. Each book, an individual triumph over the forces of decay and oblivion. You can almost hear the soft rustle of pages being turned in generations past. Feel the warmth of countless candles illuminating these very words through long, silent nights. The colors of the illuminations, still vibrant, seem to pulse with a hidden life, a testament to the quality of the materials and the patience of the artist. You try to lift one of the larger volumes, a thick tome of theological texts. It's surprisingly heavy, its weight a physical manifestation of the knowledge contained within. The clasp, a simple leather strap with a metal buckle, feels rough and practical. These books aren't merely read. They are handled, protected, cherished. They are vulnerable to fire, to damp, to casual carelessness, each a fragile repository of thought and history. You feel the profound responsibility that comes with such objects, the weight of a lineage of scribes and scholars who dedicated their lives to preserving these precious fragments of human endeavor. It makes you realize that in a world without printing presses, without widespread literacy, knowledge wasn't just abstract. It was a tangible, vulnerable treasure, held physically in these heavy, painstakingly crafted pages, guarded fiercely against the encroaching darkness of ignorance. The air is thick, metallic, and cloying, heavy with the unmistakable scent of fresh blood, raw flesh, and something sharply medicinal, like heated wine. You step into the makeshift surgeon's tent, the rough canvas flapping faintly in the cold wind, and a wave of nausea hits you, twisting your gut. The dim, flickering light from a single lantern casts long, grotesque shadows that dance on the tent walls, exaggerating every grim tableau. Then you hear it. A deep, rasping crunch, followed by a high-pitched, insistent asterisk, zeep asterisk, the sound of a saw biting into bone. It's a sound that seems to vibrate in your very teeth, a horrific symphony conducted by raw necessity. You force yourself to look. On a rough wooden table, hastily constructed from planks and barrels, a man lies strapped down, his face a mask of agony, his teeth gritted, a leather strap clutched between them. His eyes are wide, unfocused, staring at nothing, sweat plastering his hair to his forehead. The surgeon, a stern-faced man with sleeves rolled up to reveal blood-stained forearms, works with brutal efficiency. His brow is furrowed, his gaze unwavering as he wields a long, slender saw. You watch, horrified, as the blade bites, then pulls back, then bites again, the sawing motion steady and relentless. Each stroke is accompanied by that sickening dull crunch, a sound that promises and delivers irreversible change. The assistant, a younger man, holds the limb steady, his own face pale, his knuckles white. You see the severed limb, already distinct from the body, a raw, bloody mass. The sight is so stark, so utterly visceral, that you feel a coldness spread through your own arm. The air around the table hums with a desperate tension, punctuated by the strained grunts of the patient and the steady, shallow breathing of the surgeon. There's no anesthetic beyond a swig of rough spirits, no gentle hand to numb the senses, just raw, unvarnished pain met with crude, unyielding necessity. You feel the slight dampness on the floor beneath your boots, a sticky, unpleasant texture that you quickly try to ignore. The metallic tang in the air grows stronger, almost tangible, and you taste a faint, bitter bile rising in your throat. This isn't a place of healing as you might imagine it. It's a brutal, desperate attempt to prevent death, a stark testament to the limits of their understanding and the unwavering demands of survival. The saw sings its terrible song, a grim lullaby that echoes the unforgiving realities of a world where life and limb are lost with shocking speed, and the only mercy is sometimes the swiftness of the blade. A searing heat, sudden and all-consuming, clamps down on the raw wound, making your entire body convulse in a guttural, primal scream that tears through your throat. It's followed by a horrifying hiss, a sizzle of flesh, and the acrid, metallic smell of burning meat fills your nostrils, forcing its way deep into your lungs. You feel the iron brand, heavy and impossibly hot, pressing, sealing the gaping wound with a brutal, uncompromising finality. Your muscles seize, rigid and trembling, every nerve screaming in unison against the unyielding pain. You gasp for air, your vision swimming with black spots, tears blurring the edges of the tent. Through the haze, you see the surgeon's face, a grim mask of concentration, devoid of any discernible emotion. His grip on the long, slender, cauterizing iron is firm, his movements steady, precise, as if he were working on a block of wood rather than living flesh. He withdraws the iron, its tip glowing faintly orange, and the smell of cauterized tissue hangs heavy in the air, a visceral testament to the violence just inflicted. His assistant quickly douses the hot iron in a bucket of water, the resulting sharp sizzle a jarring punctuation to your own ragged gasps. Your world narrows to the burning stump of your limb, a relentless, throbbing fire that consumes all other sensations. You feel rough hands moving quickly, cleaning the scorched edges with a strong, stinging liquid, perhaps wine or something harsher. The contact is not gentle, but practical, driven by urgency rather than comfort. You try to pull away to escape the ceaseless torment, but your body is still clamped down, held firm by unseen straps and the unyielding grip of the assistant. You are an object, a broken mechanism awaiting crude reassembly. Then comes the tight, almost suffocating embrace of bandages. Layers of coarse linen are wound around the stump, each wrap pulling tighter, pressing down on the scorched flesh. You feel the pressure, a dull, aching throb that tries to contain the burning inferno beneath. It's an uncomfortable, almost suffocating sensation, yet beneath the pain there's a faint, fragile hope of containment, of survival. The surgeon finally steps back, his face still unreadable, merely wiping his blood-stained hands on a rough cloth. His eyes meet yours for a fleeting moment, a brief, stark exchange that acknowledges the immense cost, the brutal necessity, and the desperate, uncertain outcome. Your body, a damaged machine, has been forcibly repaired, stitched and seared back into some semblance of function, leaving you with the raw, visceral understanding that survival often demands a brutality that modern minds struggle to comprehend. A sudden, profound chill seizes you, gripping your bones as the heavy wooden door scrapes shut behind you with a resonant, echoing thud. The sound reverberates through the thick stone walls, a final, definitive punctuation to your descent. Darkness, absolute and suffocating, swallows you whole. Your eyes strain, searching for any flicker of light, any variation in the blackness. But there is nothing. It's a blindness far deeper than night, a total absence of visual information that immediately disorients. erasing all sense of direction. The air hits you next, a thick, stagnant blanket. It's cold, biting, but also damp, heavy with the stench of mildew, old earth, and something metallic, something vaguely putrid. You take a cautious, shallow breath, and the musty, earthen taste fills your mouth, making your throat constrict. There's a faint, almost imperceptible drip, drip, drip somewhere in the echoing silence, each tiny splash magnified into a startling intrusion. It's the only sound, a relentless, maddening rhythm that marks the agonizing passage of unseen time. You reach out a tentative hand, fingers splayed, and immediately connect with rough, uneven stone. It's slick with moisture, impossibly cold and unforgiving. You push off it, trying to find your footing, but the ground beneath your boots is uneven, littered with unseen debris and slimy with persistent dampness. You can feel a chill seeping through the thin soles of your boots, rising up your legs, a deep, pervasive cold that seems to penetrate to your very core. Every movement is a blind experiment, a slow, tentative exploration of a space defined only by its utter absence. The profound silence, broken only by the drip, 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 and your own shallow breathing, begins to play tricks on your mind. You strain your ears, trying to detect any hint of the world above, any distant clang or human voice, but there is nothing, just the vast, swallowing emptiness. Your other senses, deprived of sight, become hyper-alert, almost painful in their intensity. You imagine shapes in the darkness, phantom movements at the edge of your non-existent vision. The cold dampness seems to cling to your clothes, to your hair, a constant, heavy presence. You feel utterly cut off, isolated, adrift in a void where minutes stretch into hours, and hours into an agonizing eternity. This isn't just imprisonment. It's a slow, insidious assault on your very perception of reality, designed to strip away everything familiar, leaving you alone with the cold stone and the relentless, suffocating darkness. The relentless drip, drip, drip is no longer just a sound. It's a hammer against the inside of your skull, each minuscule splash echoing with a maddening persistence in the profound silence. You strain your ears, desperately searching for any other noise, any break in the monotonous rhythm, but there is nothing. Just the cold stone, the pervasive damp, and that singular tormenting sound that seems to mark the agonizing crawl of time. Your own breath sounds impossibly loud in this void, a ragged, desperate gasp, and you can feel the frantic beat of your heart thrumming against your ribs, a visceral drum against the suffocating silence. Your eyes ache, straining against the absolute darkness, trying to conjure even the faintest glimmer of light. After what feels like an eternity, phantom shapes begin to dance at the edges of your vision, fleeting streaks of light, shimmering patterns that aren't there, shifting forms that tease and recede. Your mind, starved of visual input, starts to invent its own reality, projecting ghost images onto the unyielding black. You reach out, trying to grasp them, but your hand meets only the cold, wet air. The metallic, earthy stench of the dungeon, once a distinct smell, has now fused with the stale taste in your mouth, an unchanging, suffocating presence that you can't escape, can't ignore. You press your palms against your eyes, hard, seeking some form of sensation, but even the pressure feels dull, muted. The intense sensory deprivation begins to warp your perception of your own body. Your limbs feel heavy, distant, almost detached, as if they belong to someone else. You try to shift your weight, to feel the reassuring connection of flesh against stone, but the damp cold has permeated everything, making your skin feel numb, strangely alien. You lose track of where your body ends, and the endless darkness begins. The edges of your reality blur. Panic, cold and sharp, begins to prickle at the back of your neck. You try to recall the faces of loved ones, the warmth of a fire, the sound of a distant bell, but the memories feel faded, distant, as if they happened to someone else, in another lifetime. Your mind grasps for anything familiar, anything to anchor itself, but the void consumes it all. This isn't just a place of confinement. It's a silent, invisible battleground where your sanity itself is under siege. You are completely alone, encased in a world defined by its absence. And the deepest terror isn't what might be lurking in the dark, but what your own mind might do without the light to guide it, or the sound to confirm its existence. A sudden, profound calm washes over you as you step through the immense, carved oak doors. The air, cool and still, is immediately perfumed with an ethereal, sweet scent. Frankincense and myrrh, mingled with the faint, persistent aroma of old stone and beeswax candles. It's a smell that instantly soothes, transports, erasing the harshness of the world outside. Your eyes are drawn upwards, irresistibly, to the soaring vaulted ceilings that seem to reach for the heavens, a dizzying expanse of intricately carved stone. The light is different here too, muted and jewel-toned. It filters through colossal stained glass windows, painting the flagstone floor in shifting mosaics of ruby, sapphire, and emerald. You stand in a hush so deep it feels almost tangible, broken only by the distant, soft echo of your own footsteps and the occasional, reverent rustle of cloaks. Every sound seems absorbed, diffused, losing its sharp edges in the vast, echoing space. The cool, smooth stone beneath your boots feels grounding, a stark contrast to the cold, damp earth outside. You walk slowly down the central aisle, your gaze sweeping over rows of polished wooden pews, still empty in the quiet of the morning. Figures of saints and angels, carved from dark wood or painted on the walls, watch with serene, unblinking eyes from their lofty perches. You notice the way a shaft of golden light catches a dust, motes dancing in the air, transforming the mundane into something almost sacred. The air feels cleaner, purer, almost as if the very act of entering has cleansed your lungs of the city's grime. The scent of incense, though subtle, is a constant lingering presence, rising and falling with unseen currents, sometimes a mere whisper, sometimes a gentle perfumed embrace. It makes your head feel light. Your thoughts seem to drift upwards, unburdened. You feel the immense quiet power of the place, not a violent physical power like a knight's armor, but a spiritual one, an unspoken invitation to reflection, to reverence. This is a sanctuary, a deliberate space constructed to elevate the senses, to lift the spirit beyond the earthly and mundane. It's a world away from the clamor and grit of daily life, a profound and deliberate act of purification for the soul, where the physical body and its imperfections seem to fade into blissful insignificance against the grandeur of the divine. A faint, mournful chant begins to rise from somewhere deep within the cathedral, a low, resonant hum that vibrates through the very stone beneath your feet. It's a sound that seems to bypass your ears and settle directly in your chest, a profound, ancient melody that instantly stills any lingering unrest. The ethereal scent of frankincense and myrrh, though never overpowering, now seems to deepen, filling your lungs with a subtle aromatic peace that makes you want to breathe slower, deeper. You watch as a few early worshippers begin to trickle in, their figures silhouetted against the vibrant stained glass light. They move with a quiet reverence, their heads bowed, their steps hushed. You feel the cool, solid strength of the stone pillar beside you, a silent, unyielding witness to centuries of prayers and hopes. The filtered light, painting patterns on the floor, feels less like mere illumination and more like a visible manifestation of divine grace, a warm, shifting embrace that invites introspection. Here, the raw grit and clamor of the outside world, the biting cold, the pervasive smells, the constant struggles for survival, they all seem to recede, distant and insignificant. The chant grows, joined by other voices, rising in a soaring chorus that echoes against the vaulted ceiling, filling the immense space with a tapestry of sound. It's a sound that doesn't demand intellectual understanding, but rather sensory surrender. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sound and the scent wash over you. You feel a profound sense of connection, a shared humanity in this sacred space, where the burdens of the body, its grime and its pains, simply do not matter. The physical discomforts of a medieval existence, the omnipresent cold, the lingering smells of unwashed bodies, the fear of disease, they are all, for this precious moment, forgotten. This isn't just a building, it's a portal, a deliberate construction designed to transport the soul. You open your eyes again, seeing the way the light catches the intricate details of a carved angel's wing, the subtle glint on an altar cloth. It's all part of a meticulously crafted experience, an immersive escape into the realm of the divine. Here, faith isn't just a belief, it's a sensory immersion, a deliberate turning away from the harsh, undeniable realities of the physical world. It's a powerful balm, a promise of solace and redemption, offering a respite where the earthly body and its imperfections are transcended by the overwhelming beauty and spiritual grandeur that surrounds you. You feel the profound pull, the quiet understanding that for many, this was not a luxury but a necessity, a vital escape from a world that offered little else. A persistent, almost maddening itch begins to prickle at your skin, just beneath the thick, homespun tunic you're wearing. You try to ignore it, to shift the fabric, but it only seems to intensify, a constant, low-level irritation that never quite goes away. The wool, though seemingly sturdy, feels coarse and unforgiving against your skin, its raw fibers scratching and abrading with every movement. The air, heavy with the faint earthy smell of unwashed sheep and damp linen, feels strangely stifling against your sensitive skin. You rub at your arm, trying to alleviate the discomfort, and feel the rough, uneven texture of the fabric beneath your fingers. It's loosely woven, far from the soft, refined textiles you might be used to. You can almost feel the individual, prickly hairs of the wool, each one a tiny barb against your flesh. The sensation is not just a passing discomfort. It's a constant low-level awareness, a persistent reminder of the clothes you inhabit. Your legs, clad in thick wool hose, feel similarly encased in scratchy, unyielding material. You watch a nearby peasant woman, her hands gnarled from work, adjusting the rough linen coif on her head. Her face, etched with the weariness of hard labor, shows no sign of discomfort from her equally coarse garments. For her, this is simply the expected texture of life, a constant tactile presence she has learned to live with, perhaps even ignore. You notice the dull, natural colors of the clothing worn by those around you, shades of undyed wool, faded blues, and earthy browns. A palette dictated by available dyes and practical necessity, far from the vibrant silks of the nobility. The weight of the clothing, though not excessive, feels substantial, a protective layer against the ever-present cold. Yet, this protection comes with a trade-off, a perpetual, mild discomfort. You try to adjust your shift, to pull it away from your neck, but the sensation of rough fabric rubbing against your skin remains. There's a constant, almost imperceptible rustle of wool and linen as people move around you, a soft, dry whisper that serves as the soundtrack to these ubiquitous textiles. This isn't about luxury or delicate comfort. It's about simple, raw utility, a necessary barrier between you and the harsh elements. You realize that a medieval life meant a constant, intimate negotiation with discomfort, where even the clothes on your back were a daily, tangible reminder of a world that demanded resilience, not refinement, from every inch of your skin. You stand outside the great hall, the coarse wool of your tunic still scratching at your skin, when the massive oak doors swing open. A ripple of murmurs, a collective intake of breath, sweeps through the small gathering of commoners. A noble woman emerges, her figure draped in a gown of deep, shimmering crimson velvet, its folds catching the faint sunlight. The fabric isn't just a color, it's a declaration. It moves with a soft, luxurious rustle, a sound utterly distinct from the scratchy whisper of peasant wool. Your eyes trace the intricate embroidery that snakes along the hem and cuffs, threads of real gold glinting subtly, catching every available spark of light. Her sleeves, wide and flowing, are trimmed with a band of rich, dark fur, ermine perhaps, or sable, its softness a stark contrast to the rough animal hides you've seen on commoners. As she walks, a faint, almost delicate perfume, a blend of rose and perhaps civet, drifts past you, subtly pushing back the ubiquitous smells of smoke and unwashed bodies. It's an aroma that speaks of rarity, of expense, of a world far removed from the everyday. You notice the way the light seems to cling differently to her garment, absorbing and reflecting, a visual richness that demands attention. The weight of the fabric itself, the density of the velvet, seems to add to her imposing presence, making her appear taller, more substantial. Her fine leather shoes, polished to a soft gleam, click softly on the cobblestones, a crisp, precise sound that cuts through the dull shuffle of poorer footwear. Every element of her attire, from the dyes to the fabric to the intricate adornments, broadcasts an unmistakable message. This is a person of power, of lineage, of unchallenged status. You feel a strange, almost unconscious deference as she passes, your gaze instinctively dropping, not out of fear, but from a deeply ingrained understanding of social hierarchy. The air around her seems to carry an invisible force field, a boundary established by the sheer opulence of her dress. Her clothes aren't just protection from the elements. They are an armor of class, an undeniable shield against the indignities of a lower station. They signify wealth, access, and a life lived far beyond the daily struggle for mere existence. It's a stark, visceral contrast, making you realize that in this medieval world, clothing wasn't just practical. It was a potent, visual language, proclaiming one's place with every stitch and every fold, a language far more revealing than any spoken word. The ground beneath your feet trembles, a deep, resonant vibration that rises from the packed earth of the lists. Then comes the thunder, a deafening, rhythmic thump-thump-thump of hooves, growing in intensity, shaking the very air around you. It's followed by a collective gasp from the crowd, a sudden intake of breath, and then a primal, surging roar that erupts from 1,000 throats. The air itself feels charged, thick with anticipation and the raw smell of horse sweat, damp earth, and human excitement. You crane your neck, eyes fixed on the distant figures, two armored titans on horseback hurtling towards each other at impossible speed. Their lances, thick as a man's arm, are leveled, glinting dully in the overcast light. The silence that precedes their impact is terrifying, a sudden, heavy void, as if the entire world has held its breath. Then, the collision. It's not just a sound, it's an explosion. A brutal, splintering rack that rips through the air, vibrating in your chest, rattling your teeth. Wood explodes outwards in a shower of jagged shards, some whipping through the air close enough for you to hear their sharp 20 whiz. One knight, a flash of red and gold, is unseated, his armored form a terrifyingly heavy doll, thrown from the saddle with a sickening thud as he hits the ground. His helmet rolls a few feet away, revealing a stunned, bloodied face. The crowd erupts again, a wave of cheers and groans, a chaotic chorus of adrenaline and raw emotion. You can almost taste the dust and splinters kicked up by the impact, a dry, acrid grit on your tongue. The other knight, still mounted, rears his powerful warhorse, its nostrils flaring, its whinny a wild, triumphant cry. He raises his remaining lance, a gesture of victory, and the sunlight catches the polished steel of his armor, making him seem almost incandescent. The air is now charged with the lingering smell of horse and exertion, mixed with the faint, sweet tang of freshly broken wood. You feel the tremor in your hands, the lingering echo of the impact in your bones. This isn't just sport, it's a brutal spectacle of power, skill, and sheer, unforgiving force. A vivid, violent ballet where life and glory hang by the thinnest of threads. The raw, visceral reality of it makes you realize that, in this world, even entertainment demands a profound and dangerous courage. The lingering scent of horse, blood, and splintered wood still hangs heavy in the air as you watch the injured knight being carried away, a limp, crumpled figure in once gleaming armor. A hush, brief and respectful, falls over the crowd, but it's quickly swallowed by a fresh wave of murmuring anticipation. You turn your gaze to the grandstands, where the noble women, shielded from the harsh sun by shimmering silken awnings, dab at their brows with fine linen handkerchiefs. Their faces, though momentarily concerned, quickly regain their composed, expectant expressions, their eyes already searching for the next participant. They are here not just for the thrill, but for the intricate dance of glory and potential tragedy, for the stark demonstration of power that unfolds before them. Below these privileged few, the common folk jostle for position along the rough wooden barriers, their crude wool garments a stark contrast to the vibrant brocades and polished jewels above. You feel the unyielding press of bodies around you, the faint earthy smell of the unwashed mingling with the pungent aroma of fear, stale ale, and sheer raw excitement. Their cheers are loud, guttural, a shared release of tension and awe that rises and falls like a restless tide. For them, this is more than entertainment. It's a rare, visceral glimpse into the lives of their rulers, a vicarious taste of power, danger, and the distant, untouchable glory they can only dream of. They shout names, they wager meager coins, their eyes wide, unblinking, following every twitch of the massive war horses, every glint of steel. Another knight, resplendent in newly polished steel, and a vibrant surcoat emblazoned with a golden griffin, rides into the lists. His heavy lance is held aloft, a gleaming declaration, and a collective roar of approval rises, louder and more fervent this time. He circles the arena slowly, his powerful warhorse prancing with controlled energy, acknowledging the roaring crowd with a slight, almost imperceptible tilt of his heavy helmet. You see the sharp, confident glint of his eyes through the narrow visor slits, unwavering. This entire display isn't merely about personal skill or combat. It's a meticulously orchestrated performance, a living validation of his lineage, his relentless training, and his inherent right to command. The sheer, undeniable cost of his intricately crafted armor, the superb quality of his powerful steed, the vividness of his banners snapping in the breeze. Every single element is a public, undeniable declaration of his immense worth, his unassailable position on the fragile, perilous social ladder. You feel the ground vibrate once more, a deep rumble beneath your feet, as his equally grand opponent takes his place at the opposite end of the lists. The tension coils anew, a palpable, almost suffocating force in the charged air, a silent, unspoken agreement between performer and spectator that something profound is about to happen. The violence, when it inevitably comes, will be swift, brutal, and utterly captivating in its raw spectacle. It's not just about winning or losing a simple contest. It's about the fierce, unyielding assertion of status, a grand, public reaffirmation of who truly holds power and who merely watches from the dusty sidelines. In this arena, every splinter of wood, every grunt of effort, every drop of sweat and blood is a crucial piece of a larger, profound narrative of command and submission, thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. This is the heart of their world, laid bare. A deep, guttural snore rumbles through the room, punctuated by the soft, rhythmic scratching of unseen vermin in the straw-filled walls. You wake to the suffocating warmth of stale air, thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, damp wool, and the faint, acrid tang of old leather and sweat. It's a pervasive, inescapable aroma that has permeated everything, clinging to your clothes, your hair, even the back of your throat. You feel the clammy press of your own sweat-damp tunic against your skin, a sticky discomfort that has become intimately familiar. You lie on a narrow, hard bunk, the straw mattress beneath you lumpy and rustling with every slight shift of your body. The boards above your head are rough, unfinished timber, and you can feel a fine dust sifting down onto your face with every deep snore from the man in the bunk above. Your eyes, still heavy with sleep, slowly adjust to the profound darkness. You can just make out the shadowy forms of other bunks crammed into the small garrison room, each one occupied by a sleeping figure, a silent testament to the cramped, communal existence. A cough rips through the air, wet and chesty, followed by a series of ragged gasps. Then a low moan from another part of the room, quickly suppressed. The sounds are a constant, low-level reminder of the vulnerability of the human body, the ever-present threat of illness and discomfort that shadows their lives. You try to shift, to find a cooler spot on the straw, but the warmth is everywhere, a heavy, oppressive blanket. It's not a cozy warmth, but a damp, slightly feverish heat, generated by too many bodies in too small a space, all breathing the same stale air. You reach out a hand in the darkness, instinctively feeling for the rough wool blanket pulled up to your chin. It's heavy, scratchy, and carries the combined sense of countless previous occupants. You feel the subtle tremor of the entire structure whenever someone shifts or turns over in their sleep. A shared, rhythmic movement that links all these disparate bodies in this single, confined space. There is no privacy here, no personal boundary. Every breath, every rustle, every snore is shared, a constant, intimate awareness of other human presences. This isn't just a sleeping quarter. It's a living, breathing organism of weary bodies, a testament to resilience, camaraderie, and the unvarnished reality of medieval communal life, where even sleep is a shared, sensory experience of close-quarters living. A low, rumbling groan escapes the bunk beside you, followed by a heavy sigh, and you feel the subtle shift of weight in the shared timbers of the bed frame. The man, a veteran knight named Gareth, stirs, his rough hand blindly reaching for the water skin hanging from his bunk. You hear the soft gurgle of water, then a satisfied gulp, before the heavy silence of sleep reclaims him. The air, though still thick with the lingering smells of sweat and stale breath, feels less oppressive now, almost familiar, like the scent of an old, much-used garment. You shift on your own lumpy straw, and the man below you grunts in response, a mutual acknowledgement in the darkness, devoid of malice. There's a strange comfort in this unspoken communication, this intimate knowledge of each other's sleeping habits, their coughs, their restless turns. You can feel the warmth emanating from the bodies around you, a collective heat that battles the damp chill seeping from the stone walls. It's a primal warmth, a shared furnace of humanity in the deep medieval night, a silent pact against the cold and the dangers that lurk outside these fragile walls. The rhythmic breathing of so many men in close proximity creates a peculiar symphony, a mix of deep snores, soft murmurs, and the occasional, almost musical sigh. It's a lullaby of shared existence, a testament to lives entwined by duty, danger, and the simple, undeniable fact of their close-quartered reality. You notice a faint metallic scent, almost like rust, from the armor hanging on a peg just above your head, a constant, silent guardian. It reminds you of the shared purpose that binds these men, the battles fought and those yet to come. As dawn approaches, a thin, gray light begins to filter through a narrow arrow slit high on the wall, illuminating the rough, unshaven faces of the sleeping men. You see the lines of exhaustion, the scars, the subtle tells of lives lived hard. The raw, pungent odors of the room, once overwhelming, now simply caw. They are the smell of your shared experience, the scent of survival, a testament to a brotherhood forged not in luxury or refinement, but in the crucible of constant discomfort, mutual reliance, and an unspoken understanding of a world that demands resilience above all else. This isn't a place of privacy or personal space. It's a crucible, a living, breathing testament to the profound bonds that emerge when men are forced to face harsh realities, side by side, night after night, sharing everything, including their stench. The sun, a relentless hammer in the high summer sky, beats down on your head, scorching your exposed neck and shoulders. You feel the sweat trickle down your temples, warm and salty, stinging your eyes as it mixes with the fine dust clinging to your brow. The air itself feels thick, heavy, carrying the rich, earthy scent of freshly turned soil, mingling with the acrid tang of your own exertion and the distant, sweet aroma of growing crops. Your lungs ache with each deep breath, drawing in the humid, sun-baked air. Your back screams, a persistent, dull throb that has settled deep in your lower spine, a constant companion through the endless day. You grunt, bending again, the coarse, rough linen of your tunic sticking uncomfortably to your damp skin. Your hands, already calloused and stiff, grasp the wooden handle of the hoe, its familiar weight a testament to countless hours of toil. The raw wood chafes against your palm, threatening to raise a fresh blister. You feel the dull impact of the hoe as it bites into the dry, resistant earth, a rhythmic thunk that vibrates up your arms and into your aching shoulders. Around you, other figures, similarly bent and burdened, work with a slow, methodical rhythm, their movements economical, born of long practice. They are largely silent, save for the occasional sigh or grunt of effort, their faces shaded by rough straw hats or linen coifs. You see the deep lines etched around their eyes, the sun-darkened skin, the stoic resignation in their posture. The vast field stretches before you, an undulating expanse of green and brown, seemingly endless under the relentless sun. The sheer scale of the work, the unyielding demands of the land, press down on you with a weight almost as heavy as the sun itself. Your throat is parched, a dry, scratchy discomfort that makes swallowing difficult. You long for a sip of the warm, slightly sour water in the communal clay jug. The heat is dizzying, making the distant trees shimmer, blurring the edges of your vision. You feel the grit of the soil clinging to your bare feet, working its way into every crease and crack of your skin, a constant, abrasive reminder of your intimate connection to the land. This isn't just work. It's an elemental struggle, a direct confrontation with the raw forces of nature. The sun, the soil, the unyielding demand for food, they are the true masters here. Your own body, a fragile vessel of bone and muscle, is merely a tool, bent to the earth's will, aching with the profound, honest pain of a life lived in constant, physical service to the land. The sun dips lower, painting the horizon in streaks of fiery orange and deep purple, but your hands, still gripping the hoe, do not slacken. Your back, a persistent, dull ache, protests with every swing, yet the rhythm of work continues, unbroken. The air, though cooling slightly, still carries the lingering heat of the day, heavy with the earthy scent of the field, now mixed with the promise of the coming evening. Your stomach growls, a hollow, insistent demand. But the setting sun is the true master, and there are still rows to complete. You glance towards the distant village, a cluster of thatched roofs barely visible through the shimmering heat haze. No bells chime to mark the hours. No clock face dictates your actions. Your time is measured by the lengthening shadows, by the changing hues of the sky, by the slow, inexorable march of the sun across its arc. You watch a hawk circling high above, its call a sharp, lonely cry cutting through the relative quiet of the late afternoon. It, too, is governed by the light, by the rhythm of the hunt, by the ancient, unchanging pulse of the natural world. The sensation of the soil beneath your bare feet, once a source of grit and discomfort, has now become a familiar, grounding presence. It's warm, yielding, a connection to the very source of your survival. You feel the deep satisfaction, a primal contentment, in the straightened rows, the weeded furrows, the tangible evidence of your labor. But this satisfaction is always tempered by the awareness of the fragile balance of life. A sudden storm, a prolonged drought, a plague of locusts. Any could undo months of back-breaking work, could mean hunger, cold, even death. This constant vulnerability is etched into the very soil, a silent, pervasive truth. You see the other peasants, their bodies stooped, moving with the same unyielding purpose, their faces grim but determined. They are part of this ancient dance, this endless cycle of planting, tending, and harvesting, a rhythm passed down through generations. There's a silent understanding between you all, a shared bond forged in the raw reality of survival. As the last sliver of sun dips below the horizon, painting the clouds in a final dramatic flourish, you finally rest the hoe against your shoulder. The day's work is done, not by the chiming of a clock, but by the relentless, beautiful tyranny of the seasons. You stand there, aching and weary, a profound sense of exhaustion permeating every muscle, yet with a deep, primal gratitude for the simple, undeniable fact that the earth has, for another day, yielded its bounty. You are a part of this ancient rhythm, a small yet vital cog in the vast, unchanging mechanism of life, utterly dependent on forces far greater than any human construct. A sudden, sharp snap of a twig nearby makes you freeze, your heart lurching in your chest. The air in the deep forest is cold and damp, filled with the rich, earthy scent of decaying leaves, pine needles, and the subtle, wild aroma of unseen creatures. It's a profound, almost piercing silence, broken only by the rustle of your own heavy wool cloak against your body, the shallow rasp of your breath, and the distant, muffled thud of horses, hooves moving through the undergrowth. You crouch low behind a thick stand of ancient oak, the rough bark cold against your cheek. Your fingers numb from the chill. Your eyes scan the dense thicket, searching for any sign of movement, any telltale flicker of fur. The forest floor beneath your worn leather boots is a carpet of fallen leaves and damp soil, yielding softly with a faint crunch asterisk when you shift your weight. Every sense is heightened, stretched taut by the intense anticipation. Even the faint smell of cold iron from the hunting knife sheathed at your belt seems sharper, more immediate. Around you, other hunters, dressed in dark, practical tunics, are similarly positioned, their forms almost invisible against the deep shadows of the woods. They move with a silent, almost predatory grace, their eyes unblinking, their expressions grimly focused. You see a flash of a gloved hand, holding a drawn bow, its string taut, ready. The tension is a physical entity, a heavy, vibrating cord strung between every participant and the unseen prey. It makes your muscles ache, your nerves prickle. Then, a faint, almost imperceptible rustle, deeper in the thicket. Your gaze locks onto the spot, your breath catching in your throat. The silence stretches, a brittle, fragile thing, pregnant with imminent violence. You can feel the cold metal of your bowstring against your gloved fingers, Taste the dry, earthy tang of forest air on your tongue. The air, already heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth, now carries a faint, musky scent, the undeniable aroma of a wild creature, close, dangerously close. This isn't just a pursuit. It's a profound, ancient ritual, a test of skill, patience, and primal instinct. The piercing silence is a deliberate canvas upon which the inevitable, brutal symphony of the hunt will soon unfold, demanding absolute focus, absolute stillness, and an unyielding readiness for the moment of truth. A guttural bark erupts nearby, then another, quickly joined by a chorus of baying hounds, their voices echoing through the dense woods. The piercing silence is shattered, replaced by a frenzied symphony of pursuit. Your own blood quickens, a primal surge of adrenaline making your heart hammer against your ribs. The air, already thick with forest scents, now carries the sharp, anxious musk of the quarry, closer, almost tangible. You hear the frantic rustle of leaves, the snap of breaking branches, as the chase thunders towards you. You tighten your grip on the hunting spear, its cold steel tip gleaming menacingly in the dappled light. Your muscles coil, ready to spring, every fiber of your being focused on the narrow gap in the trees. The ground beneath your feet feels alive, vibrating with the approaching commotion. You glimpse a flash of dark fur, a powerful, desperate movement, and then the stag bursts into view, its magnificent antlers tearing through the undergrowth, its eyes wide with terror and wild determination. It's a breathtaking, tragic sight, a creature fighting for its very existence. Behind it the hounds surge, a snarling, snapping wave of fangs and fury, their barks now a triumphant crescendo. You see the lead knight, Lord Eric, burst from the tree line on his powerful warhorse, his face grimly focused, his hunting lance already lowered, a mirror image of the battlefield. His movements are sharp, decisive, utterly without hesitation. The hunt isn't merely about sustenance. It's a living rehearsal, a brutal training ground for war, where the instincts of pursuit, the thrill of the kill, are honed and perfected. You feel the cold sweat prickling your skin, the tension of the moment, as the stag barrels past you, its breath a ragged, desperate wheeze. The air is suddenly thick with the smell of animal fear and human intent. The clash of steel, the baying of hounds, the desperate cries of the stag. It all merges into a single visceral experience, a raw, uncompromising dance of life and death. You realize, with a chilling clarity, that the forest is not just a place of beauty, but a brutal classroom. Here, the skills of tracking, of precision, of relentless pursuit are not learned from books or gentle lessons. They are carved into their very being through the unforgiving, visceral reality of the hunt, a primal echo of the greater battles that define their world. The line between sport and survival, between the hunt and the battlefield, blurs into a single, profound, and utterly brutal truth. A low, guttural moan, raw with pain, rips through the heavy silence of the night, making the hairs on your arms stand on end. You're huddled in the corner of a cramped, windowless room, the air thick and warm, heavy with the primal sense of sweat, blood, and something deeply organic, almost earthy. The flickering, weak light from a single tallow candle casts dancing shadows that stretch and shrink on the rough-hewn walls, distorting the scene, making it feel almost dreamlike, terrifyingly real. Another moan, this one sharper, more desperate, twists through the gloom. You see the woman, her face contorted in agony, her body a writhing, desperate struggle beneath a heavy wool blanket. Her hands, clenching and unclenching, tear at the straw-filled mattress beneath her, the rustling sound a counterpoint to her strained gasps. Her breath comes in ragged, shallow bursts, each exhalation a gasp of raw, unvarnished suffering. The air is so dense with the smell of her effort, her pain, that you can almost taste it, a bitter, metallic tang on your tongue. An older woman, the village midwife, hovers over the bed, her face grimly focused, her movements swift and practiced. Her hand, calloused and firm, presses against the woman's swollen belly, murmuring low, unintelligible words of encouragement. You hear the wet, sucking sound of exertion, the low cries that seem to tear at the fabric of the night. The sounds are not just auditory. They are visceral, a vibration that resonates deep in your own belly, a primal echo of life and death, intimately intertwined. You feel the cold dampness of the packed earth floor beneath your bare feet, a small anchor in this swirling vortex of sound and sensation. The flickering light casts the room in shades of yellow and deep shadow, making it impossible to see clearly, enhancing the raw, unadulterated terror and wonder of the moment. You watch the rhythmic rise and fall of the woman's body, the relentless, painful contractions that seem to pull her further and further away from herself. This isn't a private, sterile event. It's a raw, public struggle conducted in the harsh, unforgiving reality of a medieval night. The smells, the sounds, the profound darkness, they all converge into a single, overwhelming experience, a testament to the brutal, beautiful, and utterly terrifying act of bringing new life into a world that offers no easy comforts, demanding everything from the body and from the soul. A final, desperate cry echoes through the small, dark room, sharp and piercing, followed by a profound, almost terrifying silence. You hold your breath, your heart hammering against your ribs, the primal sense of sweat and blood still thick in the air. The candlelight flickers, casting long, wavering shadows that seem to dance with the lingering tension. Then, a new sound, small and fragile, a weak, reedy whimper that quickly strengthens into a robust, unmistakable cry, the sound of new life. A collective sigh of relief, deep and shuddering, escapes the women huddled around the bed. You watch as the midwife, her face shining with exertion, carefully unwraps the swaddled bundle from beneath the blanket. The air feels lighter, cleaner, as if the profound struggle has purged the room of its heavier energies. The crying intensifies, a raw, insistent demand for warmth, for sustenance, for existence itself. It's a sound that cuts through all the pain and fear, asserting itself with an undeniable, fragile power. You catch a glimpse of the newborn's tiny, wrinkled face. A blotchy red against the coarse white linen, its mouth open in a desperate, wide scream. It's so small, so utterly vulnerable, yet radiating a fierce, undeniable spark of life. The midwife murmurs soft, soothing words, her voice a low, comforting hum in the suddenly quiet room. Another woman, perhaps the baby's grandmother, presses a warm, damp cloth against the mother's brow, her movements gentle, reverent. The unspoken solidarity among these women is palpable, a quiet strength born of shared experience and a profound understanding of life's delicate balance. The sounds now are different. Soft cooing, gentle whispers, the quiet rustle of blankets. The air, though still carrying the memory of the birth, now holds a faint, sweet smell, a subtle newness that hints at hope and continuation. You feel a profound sense of awe, a deep, almost spiritual understanding of the miracle that just unfolded in this cramped, dark room. The world outside, with its knights and castles, its battles and its feasts, seems momentarily distant, insignificant. Here, in this intimate space of women and whispers, where life hangs by the barest thread, you witness the raw, beautiful, and terrifying truth of human existence. It's a reminder that amidst all the grime and hardship, life finds a way, fragile and persistent, asserting itself with every new, miraculous cry. A volley of rotten fruit, soft and squelching, splatters against the rough wood of the pillory, missing its target but sending a shower of foul-smelling pulp onto the cobblestones. You wince, tasting the faint, acrid tang of decay on the air, mingling with the pervasive smells of the crowded market square. Unwashed bodies, stale refuse, and the sharp metallic hint of human sweat and fear. A collective jeer rises from the throng, a harsh, guttural roar that washes over you, stinging your ears. Your eyes fix on the man trapped in the pillory, his head and hands locked firmly in the cold, unforgiving iron. His face, bruised and smeared with mud and filth, is twisted in a mask of shame and defiance. He stares straight ahead, his gaze fixed on some distant, unseen point, his jaw clenched so tight you can see the muscles working. You notice the deep red welts on his exposed back, testament to a recent lashing, and a fresh wave of flies, drawn by the stench, buzz lazily around his face. The cold iron of the pillory seems to bite into his flesh, visible in the way his shoulders slump, his body held in an excruciatingly uncomfortable posture. Another voice, high-pitched and shrill, cuts through the din, accusing him of theft, of deceit, of betraying the trust of the community. A small, hardened apple arcs through the air, striking him sharply on the temple. He flinches, a quick, involuntary jerk, but makes no sound, no protest. His eyes, however, flash with a potent mix of pain and silent rage. The crowd surges forward, a sea of ragged figures, their faces a mix of condemnation, prurient curiosity, and grim satisfaction. You feel the unyielding press of bodies around you, the shared tension, the collective judgment that hangs heavy in the air. The rough wood of the pillory, scarred and weathered, is coated with a sticky layer of discarded food, a testament to countless such spectacles. You feel the raw, palpable humiliation radiating from the man, a searing heat that seems to rise above the chill of the morning air. This isn't just a punishment for a crime. It's a profound, public shaming, a brutal act of social exclusion. The cold iron, the hot shame, the relentless barrage of insults and physical blows. It's a terrifying, visceral display of justice, meted out in the raw, unforgiving light of day. You realize that in this world, reputation is everything, and the public stripping away of dignity is often a punishment far more devastating than any physical wound. The roar of the crowd is not just noise, it's a living, breathing instrument of control, a brutal reminder of the consequences of transgressing the rigid boundaries of their unforgiving society. The air still vibrates with the echoes of the crowd's jeers, a sound that settles deep in your bones, even after the initial frenzy has passed. The man in the pillory, though battered and smeared with refuse, remains steadfast, his eyes now closed, perhaps seeking a brief respite from the relentless assault of shame. You feel the cold cobblestones beneath your feet, rough and unforgiving, much like the justice being meted out in this public square. The stench of decay, old market waste, and human fear is a pervasive cloud, a constant reminder of the brutal realities that underscore daily life. You watch as a stern-faced guard, clad in worn leather and a dull, polished helmet, casually leans against the pillory, his hand resting on the hilt of his heavy sword. His gaze sweeps over the crowd, unwavering, a silent warning against any further escalation, or, perhaps, any dissent. The very presence of his weapon, the solid clink of his armor as he shifts, is a palpable demonstration of force, a physical manifestation of the law's power. It's a subtle, yet undeniable assertion of control, making you keenly aware of the hierarchy, the unwritten rules that govern this brutal display. A small child, no more than 5 years old, whimpers at the edge of the crowd, clinging to his mother's skirt. Her hand, work-worn and calloused, presses firmly on his head, keeping his face turned away from the grim scene. Her own eyes, however, are wide and unblinking, fixed on the man in the pillory, absorbing every detail, every nuance of his public torment. It's a harsh lesson, learned early, in the raw, unforgiving theater of the marketplace. This isn't merely about punishing a single transgression. It's about sending a clear, unambiguous message to everyone present, a stark deterrent against breaking the established order. The rhythmic drip, drip, drip of some unknown liquid from a nearby awning onto the cobblestones, usually an unnoticed sound, now seems to punctuate the tense silence. You feel the weight of the collective gaze on the pilloried man, the shared understanding of his fate, a profound, almost primal unity forged in judgment. This public spectacle is a vital tool, a brutal form of communication in a world without widespread literacy or formal legal codes. It's a living, breathing sermon on the consequences of defiance, delivered with raw force, with cold iron, and with the searing heat of public shame. You realize with a chilling clarity that the law here is not abstract. It's a visceral, unforgettable experience designed to deeply embed its lessons into the minds and memories of all who witness it, ensuring compliance through profound and unforgettable fear. A sharp, sudden jolt sends a shockwave through your spine, making your teeth clack together. You instinctively grab the rough wooden rail of the cart, your knuckles white, as the wheels grind over a hidden root, sending a shower of loose earth and pebbles flying. The air is thick with the pervasive smell of hoarse, damp earth, and the acrid tang of sweat, mingling with the fresh scent of crushed leaves underfoot. It's a constant assault, a relentless series of bumps, bounces, and jarring impacts that seems to rattle every bone in your body. You sit on a pile of coarse hay, its dry, itchy strands working their way through your tunic, a persistent irritation against your skin. The warmth of the sun, though welcome, does little to alleviate the deep, pervasive chill that seems to cling to the damp forest path. Ahead of you, the path stretches, a winding, uneven track of churned mud, exposed roots, and sharp stones, disappearing into the dense, dark green of the trees. There are no smooth, paved roads here, just these ancient, arduous trails, carved by countless hooves and footsteps over centuries. The sound of the journey is a continuous, grating symphony, the rhythmic clop 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 of hooves on soft earth, the creak and groan of the wooden cart, the distant chirping of unseen birds, and the constant low hum of insects. You hear the deep, strained breathing of the cart horse, its muscles rippling beneath its hide with every pull. You feel the grit of fine dust settling on your face, coating your tongue with a dry, earthy taste that makes you long for a fresh sip of water. You watch the figures of your traveling companions, their bodies swaying and lurching with the movements of their own carts, their faces grim, weathered, and etched with the same patient endurance you feel settling over you. Their silence is not hostile, but pragmatic, a shared acknowledgement of the journey's demands. Each bend in the track brings no real relief, only a fresh set of challenges, a new arrangement of ruts and stones to navigate. This isn't just travel. It's a profound physical undertaking, a slow, grinding battle against the unyielding terrain. Your body, a resilient vessel of bone and muscle, is being tested, pushed to its limits, constantly adjusting, constantly absorbing the relentless shocks of a world without modern comforts. You realize with every bone-rattling jolt that merely getting from one place to another is an act of profound will, a testament to the raw, unvarnished endurance demanded by life on the medieval road. The forest canopy opens suddenly, and you emerge onto a high ridge, the wind whipping at your face, carrying the scent of distant mountains and unfamiliar wildflowers. Below you, the world sprawls, vast and untamed. Rolling hills, dense forests, and winding rivers stretch to the horizon, a patchwork of greens and browns that seems to go on forever. There are no clear roads, no obvious settlements, just the immense, sprawling wilderness, beautiful and profoundly daunting. The silence up here is immense, a deep, resonant hush, broken only by the mournful cry of a distant bird of prey, a sound that underscores the wildness of it all. You feel a profound sense of scale, a dizzying awareness of your own smallness against this boundless landscape. The familiar landmarks of your home village, the castle, the fields, they are utterly absent, lost in the immensity. Every rustle in the distant trees, every shadow that shifts across the valley, sparks a flicker of unease. You instinctively pull your cloak tighter, a futile gesture against the sheer, untamed expanse. The air tastes clean, sharp, but also carries a subtle hint of the unknown, an unsettling freshness that speaks of places unmapped and unexplored. Your gaze sweeps across the horizon, trying to find some point of reference, some sign of human presence. But there is nothing. Just the raw, untamed earth, stretching in all directions, an unbroken tapestry of natural forces. You recall the hushed tales whispered by merchants in taverns, stories of bandit-infested woods, of wild beasts, of forgotten ruins haunted by spirits. These are not just fanciful tales now. They are possibilities, tangible threats lurking within the vast, silent beauty below. You see the ancient, gnarled trees standing like silent sentinels, bearing witness to centuries of forgotten journeys, countless dangers. The warmth of the sun on your face, though pleasant, feels distant, a mere comfort against the overwhelming presence of the wilderness. Your horse, usually restless, stands surprisingly still, its ears twitching, its senses alert to the subtle shifts in the wind, the faint sounds imperceptible to human ears. You realize that this journey is not just a physical movement from one point to another. It's a profound, visceral exploration of a world that remains largely unmapped, untamed, and deeply mysterious. Every mile is an act of faith, a step into the unknown, a testament to the raw courage required to navigate a medieval landscape where danger is a constant companion, and the edges of the known world are always tantalizingly, terrifyingly close. This vast, beautiful, and utterly dangerous world demands a constant vigilance, a profound respect for its wildness, and an unshakable inner resolve to simply push onward into the great, looming unknown. A sharp, sudden pain, like a ghost limb remembering a forgotten blow, shoots through your left shoulder. You wince, a low grunt escaping your lips, and instinctively reach to massage the old wound, though it hasn't truly healed in decades. The air in the sun-drenched courtyard is warm, but a persistent chill seems to cling to your joints, a constant, dull ache that has become a permanent resident in your aging bones. Your body is a map of ancient battles, each scar a story, each creak a memory. You sit on a rough-hewn bench, the sun warm on your face, but your gaze is distant, fixed on the distant training yard where young squires clumsily swing their wooden swords. You hear the rhythmic thwack-thwack of practice, the shouts and grunts of exertion, and a faint, almost phantom scent of cold steel and fresh sweat, mingling with the earthy smell of the sun-baked ground. It's a smell that brings with it a flood of memories, the clang of battle, the acrid smoke, the metallic tang of blood. You reach for the battered leather drinking horn at your side, its surface smooth and worn from countless touches. As you lift it to your lips, you feel the familiar stiffness in your wrist, a dull ache that never truly recedes. The rough ale, warm and slightly sour, coats your tongue, a taste that has been a constant companion through a lifetime of campaigns and cold nights. You close your eyes for a moment, and the sounds of the courtyard, the distant whinny of a horse, the caw of a rook, the muted clang of the blacksmith's hammer, seem to sharpen, each one a thread in the rich tapestry of your past. You feel the old scars on your arm, raised and puckered beneath the worn fabric of your tunic, a permanent record of past violence. 1. A jagged line across your forearm begins to itch, a subtle, phantom irritation. Your breath catches, a shallow, involuntary gasp, as another familiar ache, this one in your right knee, flares with a sudden, sharp intensity. This isn't just the pain of age, it's the profound, lingering legacy of a life lived by the sword. Your body is a living archive of trauma, constantly whispering stories of blows taken, of wounds endured, of countless moments where death stood a breath away. The air, the smells, the sounds, they are not just present sensations but powerful keys, unlocking a torrent of visceral memories, reminding you that a warrior's past is never truly past. It lives within his bones, a constant, aching presence, until the very end. A deep, booming laugh suddenly erupts from the courtyard below, startling you from your reverie. It's Lord Eric, the old knight, his voice still surprisingly robust, despite his age and countless battle scars. He's telling a tale, his gestures broad and animated, to a circle of attentive squires who hang on his every word. You catch a faint whiff of his usual potent aroma, sweat, old leather, wood smoke, a familiar, almost comforting scent that speaks not of uncleanliness, but of a life fully lived, deeply integrated into the fabric of this world. You watch him, truly observe him now. His face, though weathered and lined, holds a fierce, unyielding vitality. His eyes, sharp and clear, sparkle with a distant memory as he recounts some ancient skirmish, his voice rising and falling with the dramatic arc of his story. His gnarled hands, once gripping a sword, now hold court, commanding attention with their expressive movements. The constant aches, the phantom pains, the physical burdens of his past, they are still there, you know, but they do not define him. They are simply part of the profound, complex tapestry of his existence. You feel the rough stone of the castle wall beneath your fingers, solid and enduring, a silent witness to centuries of human drama. The sun, now warmer, bathes the courtyard in a golden light, illuminating the ancient stones, the vibrant banners, and the eager faces of the young squires. They look up at the old knight, not with pity for his age, but with profound respect, seeing in him a living legend, a testament to a life of courage, resilience, and unwavering purpose. They are learning not just tactics, but a way of being, a philosophy of endurance carved from harsh experience. The cacophony of the castle, the distant clang of the blacksmith, the calls of vendors, the whinny of horses, seems to blend into a single vibrant hum, a living soundtrack to an enduring human story. You realize that the superficialities, the lack of modern hygiene, the constant grime, these were never the true measure of these people. What endures is their spirit, their astonishing capacity for resilience, their profound ability to not just survive, but to find purpose, laughter, and brotherhood amidst unimaginable hardship. The old knight embodies this perfectly. His body may carry the marks of a brutal age, but his spirit, his stories, his very presence, resonate with a powerful, undeniable humanity that transcends any fleeting notions of cleanliness. He is a living monument to the enduring human spirit, proving that true strength and dignity echo far beyond the superficial filth of history.